Your next vehicle from Community Motors of Mason City.
Great service from 3 locations: Community on Monroe, Community Motors Westside, and Mason City Ford. 10 new franchises and hundreds of vehicles to give you more choices. Plus, Community offers an exclusive 3-3 warranty on pre-owned vehicles and 10-year, 250,000-mile warranty on new. Need more reasons why? Stop or visit CommunityAutoGroup.com.
Because nobody beats a community deal.
Well, we can start to get some of the formalities over with. We need to elect a chairperson, secretary. Should have a vice chair. Nominations are open.
I nominate Tom Jolis for chair.
Any further nominations? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Secretary?
I nominate Bill Cody for secretary. He's already right.
And any further nominations? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Vice chair?
Second.
There you go. Okay. Any further nominations? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried. Okay, we got that taken care of. Does everybody have a copy of the sheets? As you know, last year, we started trying to handing out more and more information, to try and help how complicated it is, what it is not, and again, in this one, deputies are covered, under what we do, because they get a percentage of whatever the elected official gets. And so what you do affects them as well, and that's set out in the statute. That part of the code that I gave you, so. Well, I'm just gonna have Tom Judisky did a great job of putting this together. We've met several times and got this done. And,
If you don't mind, I'm gonna stand up.
yeah, and
Before this.
Tom will go through these things with you and with all of us, and then get it explained. If you have any questions, ask me.
In putting this together, I really wanted to find stuff that give you a good feel for what other counties are doing and where we're situated and some other circumstances. I
Just start out.
Just start.
You have your packet, Tim?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I've read this over.
Right in the middle. The table on the first page at the top shows where we rank compared to 5 counties, larger and smaller, Cerro Gordo County population rank. These are generally the same comparables that we use when we're going into bargaining with our unions, with 4 unions that the county has, and so this is where we rank in comparison across the various elected offices. You can see in our comparable set, we've got some counties that are similar to Cerro Gordo that have a major community in them that is the economic center of that community. Webster County has Fort Dodge, Des Moines County has Burlington, and then others that are now in our comparable group that are around the metro area, such as Warren, Jasper, Dallas counties. Across the bottom of that table, then you've got the average for just our comparables, and then statewide average. And I did provide you with the raw data for all 99 counties as well. The one thing I'd point out is that there's no data for Marshall County recorder because they don't have a recorder in Marshall County. At some point in time, they combined those duties with the auditor, which went against statutory. At the bottom of that page, you've got a health insurance table. That is the family health insurance contribution trend since 2010. And like all non-bargaining employees, for the elected officials, the county pays the cost of the single Alliance Select 1,000 policy. And then those on family insurance pay 20% of the premium for family insurance, minus $100 a month in flex dollars, which is something the county has had for, I think, 25 years. The current family premium is $1,365 a month, and so the contribution by employees is $273, again, minus the $100. We're projecting a possibility for budget purposes for this next fiscal year of an 18% increase in health insurance rates. So if that's the case, next fiscal year, the family insurance rate would be $1,610.70. So 20%, the employee contribution would be $322.14 a month, minus the $100 in flex is $222.14. So right now, if they contribute $173 out of pocket after the flex, that's going to be an additional $49.14 a month. So for 12 months, that's $589.68. So to put this in perspective, let's take the auditor, who right now is at $64,404. Let's say you give a 2.5% increase, which would increase the auditor's salary to $66,014. Then subtract off the top of that the additional contribution for health insurance at $589.68, and so their net ends up being $65,424.32. So instead of a 2.5% increase, their net increase after health insurance actually ends up being 1.6%. And so that's just something to keep in perspective. And as we get to the deputies in a moment, you'll see that difference is exacerbated in that way as well. I provided the consumer price index on the top of the second page for the last 12 months. That trend was 2.16%. There was a recent data release, and it did go down about a 0.5%. So the overall increase is about 1.69%. I provided wage tables in a couple different forms. At the bottom of the second page, the one wage table is if we gave just a straight dollar increase, what those amounts would be and percentage change. The matrix on the top of the third page is a percentage change with what those dollar amounts would be and then what the dollar difference would be. The only difference is with the recorder, who traditionally has received $750 less than the auditor and treasurer, and that's accounted for in that table at the top of the third page. As Tom said, the deputies are tied to what the elected official makes in that particular department. So I provided a table showing how many deputies are in each elected official's offices that are governed by state code. The auditor currently has 4 deputies, but one is in training, and another one is set to retire the end of January. So he'll actually be down to 3. Right now he's got 2 at 85%, 1 at 80, and 1 at 60%. The attorney has 1 deputy at 80% of his salary. Recorder has 2 deputies at 77.5% of her salary. The treasurer has 1 deputy at 77.5% and 1 at 70%. And then the sheriff has the chief deputy at 85% of his salary. So there's 10 appointed deputies that are tied to the elected officials, but not included is Heather Mathery, the budget manager, who is not considered a deputy but her salary is based on 90% of the auditor's salary. So if we use the same example with the auditor that I did before, if we went with a 2.5% increase, increasing the auditor's wage to $66,014, let's take the 80% deputy. The 80% deputy will go from current wage of just over $51,500 to $52,811, which is a $1,288 difference. But if you subtract out the additional $589.68 for family insurance, it results in only a net 1.35% increase. So as the wage is lower, the impact of the family insurance premium is exacerbated. I provided graphs for each of the elected officials over the past 10 years and what their salary trends have been. The thing that I guess I noticed as I looked at this is there's been a definite flattening in wages since fiscal year ending in 2009. I also provided 10-year total levy rates for not only the county, but also the city of Mason City Schools, and NIAC. And due to the scale of this graph, it's hard to see, but the total levy for the county, which is on the next page, you've got a table showing that. The county's levy has remained the same or declined since fiscal year 06-07, nearly 36 cents a thousand, or about a 5.4% decrease since fiscal year ending 07. Did provide also, as we did last year, a table showing where the county's fund balances are at. We've got a healthy fund balance, even though it decreased by nearly $2 million in the last fiscal year. And then finally, as Tom said, well, you've got the raw data there for all counties. There's also the code sections, which cover the general powers and duties, provides a list of information that the comp board should look at in making decisions. Also talks about what the process is, where you simply make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, and the code also sets limits on what the supervisors can do with your recommendations. The basis for the county attorney's salary is in there. In section 331-752, number 5, talks about that it shall be an amount which is between 45% and 100% of the annual salary received by a district court judge. Right now, a district court judge makes $137,700, and so the current salary of the county attorney is 75.9% of a district court judge's salary.
And it should be how much?
It's got to be between 45 and 100%. So he's almost right down the middle. And then finally, included sections this year on salaries of deputies, assistants, and clerks, and how those are derived. So, try to answer any questions that you might have about the data.
Well, on the tax rate levy, would you attribute that to farmland prices, or what would you attribute that to?
It can be attributed to a number of things. One reason for the decline would be some of the jail bonds being retired and the refinancing of those, and so we don't have to levy as much for debt service as we once had to. The rollback is so significant on ag property. While there may be additional revenue on ag property, it could be more related to additional value of industrial and commercial property as well. Because they're taxed at 100% of value as opposed to the ag property. But that could be a part of it.
Any questions? Board?
Okay.
Good job, Tom, really good.
Yes, very good.
Thank you. Great job on this. Well, here we go. Decision time, I guess, is decision time.
Before I get my comment, before I,
You can make a comment now.
Well, as you all seen me several years in a row now, I'm still adamant about one issue, and that is I have no objection to any of the county employees and their salaries. The only issue I've ever taken up with would be the county supervisors and their salary. That being said, in looking at the graph, Cerro Gordo County, you look at the attorney, the auditor, recorder, sheriff, treasurer, so on and so forth, the rankings are 10th to 11th, up to 12th in the state. But yet, when you get to the supervisors, they're the 6th highest paid in the state, and a ranking in the county, in the state is only 13th. And I guess, again, I have no qualms with any of the increases or percentage increases for full-time county employees, but you gotta remember, the board's, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, decision is to make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. And I guess I would ask that the recommendation be made as far as the increases that you give, but ask them to duly note on the backside of your page, item number 3, I believe that's state section 2417, where the supervisors may adopt a decrease in compensation paid to the supervisors, irrespective of the county board's county compensation board recommending schedules, so on and so forth. They have that power to lower theirs. If you put the increase in or you vote the increase, I would just ask that the board take that recommendation into play, considering the ranking in the state, our size in the state, and the abilities for them to lower their salary. I just think it's, especially when you look at the comparable average, 39,000 in the state, and they're getting paid 46,000. I have been an adamant opposed taxpayer to their salary for several years now, and that's one of the reasons I ran unsuccessfully. But I just ask you for your consideration when you make that recommendation, and you make that to the board as well. So, thanks for the time.
You bet. Let me explain something. For the last 4 years, we have given consumer price index raises.
Yeah.
Now, the purpose of that is to keep you where you were the year before, okay? Even though it's like Social Security, you get a cost of living increase, well, we use the consumer price index. I think it's a better system, but the federal government chooses otherwise on theirs, but that's their prerogative too. But you can't do nothing and let them go behind, you see. And that's the problem that we face here, because for 4 years, everybody has held the status quo. I mean, we've protected what you had the year before, the year before that, that's okay. But you technically really have not had a raise as such. Now, some counties don't do that. I don't know why. That's their prerogative. If they choose not to protect what you had before, that's okay. I personally don't feel that way. I think you got to at least say, okay, we're not going to let you lose here every month, or every year, and every year. And that's the direction in which I come. I make this little speech only because I want people to understand that there is a difference between a raise and a consumer price index raise. And the consumer price index raise is basically to protect what it is that you had the year before. And you've done that for 4 straight years. And now we'll probably do, well, it'll be the chair's recommendation. It depends on what the board wants to do, but I think we ought to continue this next year
Man, I mean, under that rationale though, sir, shouldn't everyone get a raise? I mean, shouldn't minimum wage be raised every year? Under that rationale?
Well, they raise Social Security.
I mean, shouldn't everyone at Walmart get a raise? Shouldn't everybody
Well, that's
get a
private
raise?
enterprise, but and we can't control what everybody else does. All we try to do is, we're not the highest paying thing around, but they're good jobs.
Right.
And we want to keep good people. That's the mission. My concern this year, quite honestly, is the fact that the economy is really going to turn around. Well, I think it is. And I think salaries will start going up, and we can't change anything for a whole year. And I've wrestled with this. I've wrestled with the health thing, as Tom knows, because I want to do something. I don't know how to protect those people from having, wow, I'm going to drop my insurance, or I can't afford this, or I can't, because as I say, it'll be the chair's recommendation again, and it's up to the board to decide, but
Of course.
we do a consumer price index raise to protect you what you have and what you had last year. It's not getting increased, and although it looks like an increase, it's not. Okay. And it's a difficult thing to look at it sometimes, and we don't want to be unfair to people. We want to be, treat them right.
But shouldn't public employees be subject to the same as private employees? I mean, why should public employees always get a raise, but people that work for private companies don't necessarily get raises? In fact, sometimes they hire people at lower rates of pay.
Well, if you want to look at the fund balances, look at the levy. Well, look what's really happened here. Is it really cost the taxpayers? I mean, that's the sort of thing that you got to look at. And we've maintained this basis, and that's the direction in which we're going. And I don't know that this is the right year not to give a raise, because I think in the future it's good. But I can't really bring myself to that juncture right tonight. I think
Certainly.
as I said, it'll be the chair's recommendation. And
But typically the board offers a raise, correct? I mean, every year they do recommend a raise.
We appreciate your comments.
I was just wondering what year they didn't recommend a raise then.
One last comment, Mr. Chair. Okay. That being said, whatnot too, all due respect to Mr. Drinsky over here too, he's a full-time county employee. The auditor, recorder, sheriffs, they're all full-time county employees. And my argument again was back to the supervisors. The supervisors are a part-time position, and to be ranked 6th in the state at $46,000 a year, for a part-time position, that seems pretty elaborate. And the chart that I passed you guys around, I went and got that's public information. That's the 24 years based upon our longest-serving supervisor, Jay Erdahl. He started at $18,750, and now he's at $46,464. That just seems a little elaborate for a part-time position. So, again, thanks for allowing me to comment.
Okay, back to the board. Spent a lot of time on this. Tom met a lot. Going through a lot of this stuff. Trying to provide this data and information for you. I think the consumer price index increases what we ought to, 2.25 is probably what we ought to use this year. Again, and I mean, it's open to discussion. So that's the chair's recommendation. It's now up to you guys to comment and say what you want to do and what you think.
Sheriff, it obviously has some restrictions because he has to be compared to the people around. And I did some checking, and the Clear Lake Police Chief is at probably be about $83,000 next year, based on our increase he gets in January 1, he gets in July. Mason City Police Chief is at $90,500. Mason City Fire Chief is also at $90,500. Lieutenant out here at the Highway Patrol is $81,800, and the DCI, Larry Hedlund, is at $96,000. So in order to keep the sheriff in line with that, you'd have to have a minimum of 1.5 to keep in line with the average, and there's quite a distance between the DCI and the
Exactly.
sheriff's salary.
And again, that's what the law requires that you do. I mean, that's
Right.
you fulfilled your obligation. Good job.
So I would concur with you that 2.25 would be a good place to start, so I'd make that a motion.
Is there a second to the motion? Second. Any further discussion?
I would agree that that's a good place to start. From my perspective, since I've been on this board, I think the supervisors have been at the 6th spot in rank. So in keeping with Tom's arguments here, to cut that back, just because the rank is seemingly out of order, would be a bigger cut in pay for them than anybody else. I think they've probably been at 6 if you take this. Well, it doesn't say what rank they were all along, but I bet they've been at 6 for 10 years or more. And to now come along and say we're gonna rectify something that happened 10 years ago would be a major cut. I've always said, since I've been on this board, that I know a lot of the county workers here, see them all the time, they're hardworking, industrious people. And we may not have good economic times throughout the country, but we do here in Cerro Gordo County. I always ask that question when I get these papers. How is the fiscal house here in Cerro Gordo County? Well, it's very strong, and it's in large part to the leadership of the county supervisors, in my opinion. We've got surplus, we've got a fund balance of over $12 million here. Why shouldn't we give a minimal raise of at least cost of living? To give less than that is a cut in pay, and I just don't think they deserve that. And I also think that the cost of health insurance is rising at an alarming rate, and I would favor a temporary increase in a temporary 2%, 6-month raise to accommodate the extreme cost to health insurance, especially in the last year. Tentative budget for 18% increase in health insurance rates for fiscal year 2014, and to not give any increase or raise, basically that's a cut in pay also. They're asked to pay more of their own salary for health insurance costs than ever before. So I appreciate your motion. I would ask for a friendly amendment to that to say 2.25% plus a temporary 2% raise for health insurance purposes.
The way this discussion had taken place is, I've wrestled this for a long time, and I've gone around and I'm just really deeply concerned about the cost of the insurance, a lot. And I thought about doing an extra increase. See, when we adopt this, whatever we adopt, that takes effect July of next year, okay? That's when these raises take place. Not January 1st, July of next year, okay? So then it goes that first 6 months. And you got the next 6 months, which is kind of like what we're in right now. That second 6-month time period is probably when all the healthcare stuff will really come into play. And I discussed with some of you that, maybe we consider a 1% raise or something like that, that second 6 months. Nobody's ever done it in the state, but that doesn't mean that we can't do it here. It deserves discussion, it deserves consideration. To lose heavily because of the cost of insurance is going to be punitive. Now, they're not part of the bargaining thing. Or the other thing is, and I guess I just came to the conclusion, well, let the supervisors settle it all for everybody, you know, the whole group. And that's kind of the way they're gonna do it, you know, because, okay, we're gonna change this and this and this. We don't have the numbers, we don't have the figures, and that's the thing that scares me a little bit. Is I know there's gonna be an increase. Tom knows there's gonna be an
We
increase.
won't know those numbers till the end of January of what the health insurance is gonna look like.
So it's,
Could be
yeah, we
worse
can
than
guess
that.
and be wrong and change it later and do whatever, I don't know. But this is not easy right now, particularly with the healthcare issue. And that's why I came back to, okay, let's just do the consumer price index. Let's do it 2 1/4, 2 1/2, whatever the board wants to do, and just hope and if the supervisors can get in there and adjust the package, you know, the 80-20 package, which, you know, Cerro Gordo County has a very good healthcare plan, and to their credit. But it's gonna be a struggle for them this next time around, it really is. And these are future things coming up, and I don't know the answers.
If I might make a comment, while I'm here to represent Pat Wright, the county treasurer, I want to say this about the county employees and the operation of the county. Our county is very efficiently operated by all departments. And while the supervisors might be often described as part-time employees, while they're not in the office, they're at meetings and traveling around the state for other meetings and to various functions at community colleges and mental health center and things like that. So I think that we should give them some leeway, and they're not just part-time employees. They put in a lot of time.
Yeah, their job is not just in the courthouse.
No, just because they're not in the courthouse doesn't mean they aren't doing
That's
things.
a good point.
And the other thing I would echo in regard to the supervisors is, all three of them are pretty well tenured because everything has been working well, and the voters and taxpayers in this county have recognized that it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they continually get reelected because they've done the job well. And I would agree with you, very well, you know. Bob Ames, I represent, it doesn't come down to the office hours. It's many hours, evenings and whatnot, taken away from family and farm operation, et cetera, that puts in a lot more time than one.
Curry's Graham, HR people, I visited with them over. I think they're looking strongly at like a 2% increase for their regular employees. That's what I thought. You hate to go too much above what the taxpayer is going to be paying.
Yeah.
But the other thing they pointed out is if you've got a real thing working, don't be changing it.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a comment back on that in regards to the commenter. The Globe Gazette did an interview 4 years ago, and there was an online record of a quote from one of the city supervisors, that the average time that's put in a week, counting the meetings they go to, is 30 to 32 hours. And John might be able to look that up, but 30 to 32 hours is the average. That's a part-time position.
Pardon.
Thank you.
That part of is over, okay? We're now.
Didn't sound like it.
Pardon? No,
Didn't sound
board-
like it.
no, now we're at the board's decision, okay? So the public hearing, that aspect of it is finished. I'm not gonna reopen it again, you know, because then we'll be here all night just rehashing.
Okay.
You know, I respect your point of view, but, you know, we've gotta move the show here. And my question to you is, all right, we've got amendment to the motion offered here. Want to restate your amendment so we can get
Well,
your second vote?
The amendment, which I would propose as a friendly amendment, which means the drafter would need to accept it, would be to add to the 2.5% cost of living raise a temporary 6-month 2% raise for health insurance purposes.
To start the second half of
Start the second half of fiscal year 2013.
Is there a second to that?
Well, he said 2.25 though the first time, so.
2.25 plus an
But you said 2.5. He said 2.25. You said 2.5. So
So,
I mean, you might want to check that.
there is no second. Did you second?
If he accepts
So I
it
made
as a
the
friendly
motion.
amendment, he can accept that and we wouldn't need a second. That he's doing that. I guess that would be a new motion.
You want to make a new motion?
I'll make a new motion.
All right. Now, do we have a second on the new motion?
Can't second my own motion.
Guess it dies for lack of a second. Go back to the original motion of 2.4. 2.25, excuse me, thank you.
So I guess should we discuss that now?
Yeah, we can discuss that.
Chairman Joel. I guess my thought would be if we're not gonna add an additional increase of any kind to offset, let's tentatively budget it as an 18% increase in health insurance, that we do go up to 2.5%, effective 7/1/13 for an overall cost of living adjustment, including the issue of health insurance.
Is there a second to that motion? None carried. That's done. Okay, now the 2.25, motion been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion's carried.
Don't think it's enough.
Pardon?
I don't think it's enough.
I kind of agree with you a little bit. But it's so difficult. Well,
My own company, we had to, went through an HSA form of health insurance just to get that cost down, and it was tolerable for the employees. They seem to be happy with it so far. But it did say some.
Not so many private companies in a position to give a 2.5% increase. The county, Cerro Gordo is, I mean, we could get 5. Would save the budget, so have a major system.
I would hate to go back to work tomorrow morning and say, I want to give these guys 5. You aren't going to need any.
Well, that's comparing apples to oranges. That's county budget versus private budget.
Why is it apples to oranges? I mean, we're all going to work every day, aren't we?
If
What's
I
the
have a
difference?
good year, I reward my employees. Just wrote bonus checks tonight.
Well, that's you. What about the small business owner that's
If I have a
struggling?
bad- The county had a good year.
So why don't they fix up the fairgrounds? What about all the bridges that are crumbling around the county? I mean, what's that all about?
okay, well, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.